Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So today I want to talk about Joe JOYCE, and I need to ask the question: did Joe JOYCE's team let him down? Now, this is a twofold question because the first question is basically, did his management let him down in regards to dealing with Queensbury, and also did his trainer that he trained with, Ishmael Salas, let him down? Because in the first fight against Zhang, he got the tactics horribly wrong, and it didn't look like he'd sparred anybody that was a southpaw. All he did was go in how he normally goes in and just try to bulldoze him. Also, he wasn't the correct weight for the fight. He was seriously underweight from what he normally is. Joe JOYCE is normally around about 270. He came in at 256. So I don't know if that was by design or was it just because of the heat. And I remember watching an interview by Ismail Salas, and he was saying he was too light. And I'm thinking, well, you're his trainer. Surely you should have maybe held back on some of the sessions where when it's too hot, he can conserve his energy and obviously keep the weight on him. If you just got him training out in the Texas heat, killing himself, when he comes back to the UK and he's lost all that weight, it's not going to be good. And the difference in climate is not going to be good, because if you're fighting in the UK, why not train in the UK? And yeah, I get it, he had to go out there to train with Ishmael Salas because that's where he's based and that's where he's out. But surely for half of the camp, Ishmael Salas should have come and flew back into the UK, and he should have trained in the UK. It makes more sense to be fighting in the place what you're more acclimatized to, instead of going somewhere else where it's a different climate and fighting, especially if it's going to be more of a detriment to you and it's not going to help you, it's going to be more of a hindrance. Don't get me wrong, training in the heat and high altitude is good, but you need to be similarly acclimatized to the environment that you're going to fight in. So if you're from the UK, which he is, he should have just been training in the UK. It would have made more sense. But I don't understand why he had to go out to America, and I don't know why Ishmael Salas couldn't come to the UK. Now, if it's a case that he has other fighters and he's busy or whatever, then maybe he's not who you should be using to train you, because your focus is on basically getting someone that's going to accommodate what you need while you're doing what you need to do, because it's your career. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Ishmael Salas coach any heavyweight. So why was he your coach? That's another question I need to ask. Don't get me wrong, he's a successful coach, and we know he's from Cuba, and obviously he started out as a coach in Guantanamo province of Cuba, and then he went on to coach the Cuban national team, and then obviously he went around the world teaching people, Pakistan, North Korea, and Thailand, and then he settled in the in the US, but he's only ever trained, the likes of Jorge Linares, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Chris Gamboa, and Nene Odenair. Now, they're all good fighters, and the quick, pretty slick boxers, especially Rigondeaux and Gamboa and Donaire, but they're not heavyweight, and to be honest, if he's not had any experience with heavyweights, he's only going to be able to teach you what he can teach them, but in a basic way, because heavyweight boxing is different, and you need to have not just the skill, but you need to have the conditioning as well, and you need to know how to fight southpaws. And how can you pick to fight somebody that's so tricky and so awkward and's bigger than you and's a southpaw and's a potential banana skin? How can you pick him and think that you can just bulldoze him without doing any southpaw sparring or even fighting a southpaw? Because I can give another example as well. I remember when Derek Chisora fought Artur Spilka, and in the run up to the fight, when he fought Artur Spilka, they were saying that in the sparring he was having a horrible time fighting the southpaws. He couldn't manage the style, and he basically was just awful. But then come fight night, he flipping knocked out Spilka. He knocked him out that spectacular. He made Deontay Wilder look flipping rubbish, because it took Wilder so long to get rid of Spilka. Because, you know, it showed you how actually when Spilka was on form, how good he was. Or maybe how rubbish Deontay Wilder was. But anyway, point I'm trying to make is, because he took it serious and he sparred, even though they caused him headache and nightmare, he prevailed in the fight. He managed to get it right on the night. And Joyce, for my money, didn't look like he did any sparring at all. All he did was just go in and just do what he normally does. And to be honest, it kind of was reminiscent to the WSB fight, what he had with Usyk, where he tried to do the same thing and Usyk just peppered him with shots. The only thing is Usyk was a lot quicker, and he might have caught him with a few shots initially, but once Usyk figured out his timing, he just took the mick out of him and punched him up. You know what I mean? And yeah, Joyce didn't go down, but he did get wobbled a few times, and that's the same with the Zhang fight. Obviously, you know, he didn't get knocked out, but like he got peppered that much. He didn't move his head that much. His eyes got closed. And obviously, if you keep hitting somebody in the same spot, eventually it's going to damage the flipping that part of the body. Because he did the same thing to Dubois. So I don't know why he didn't learn that lesson. And then come the second fight, you come in drastically overweight because you're still going to bulldoze him, but then you're going to keep away from him. But so what, your tactics were completely wrong. You know, you should have come in at your ideal weight, which is at least 270. At a push 260 in the high end 260s, so maybe 265 or 268 at the very most, if you want to be a little bit quicker than Zhang, but big enough so you've got power in snapping your punches as well. And obviously you're not too big where you can't move. So, you know, that was completely wrong. And to me, it just seems like the trainer that you had either doesn't really care, or he's not experienced enough to actually know what to teach you to actually implement in the fight. Now, don't get me wrong, the fighter has to know what he needs to do in the fight himself, instinctively and whatever, but the trainer gives you your plan. And at first, in the second fight, it was working and you were doing the right thing. But the thing is you weren't throwing any punches and you weren't letting up any combos. And I think he was a little bit gun shy because of what Zhang did to his eye, and because Zhang said that he won the battle of the mind games and of the words, because even though he doesn't speak English, by him telling the translator what he said, he already was adamant what he was going to do, and that psychologically probably played into Joe JOYCE's psyche and made him a bit tentative to throw punches. You know, that touching with the jab, just touching, and then Zhang's just parrying, because that's all the first round was, and then the second round was that as well. And then Zhang just said, you know what, I've got your timing now, and just let off. So come the third round, that's how he just got blitzed and just got knocked out with that right hook, you know. Because he was probably expecting the left, but what he didn't realise is because Zhang's there and he's touching and he's parrying, he knows when to throw the right, bam, and catch her, and which is what he did, and just knocked him out. And Joyce, because he's so flipping big and heavy and cumbersome, he couldn't get out of the way of it, and probably didn't even see it because he expected the left to come. So Zhang just changed it up on him, and it's not that, he has power in both hands. So even though you're trying to keep away from the punch in that regard, which you didn't see what was right in front of you. And I don't know anyway, that I'm not saying he should have avoided Zhang, but you chose to fight somebody that gave Hrgovic trouble and arguably beat Hrgovic. Now, Hrgovic won the fight just about, but remember, Hrgovic got dropped, and I think that's the first time he's ever been dropped as well. And yeah, he did have a nightmare before the fight because obviously one of his parents had died, and psychologically he might not have been all there, and his mind was in the fight. He's probably, when he did get dropped, that's what woke him up and made him battle on. So it shows you how actually good Zhang actually really is, and how underestimated he was by everyone else. That when he gave Hrgovic a run for his money, it just shows you how good the Hrgovic win actually is now over Zhang, because Zhang has beat Joyce. So that just goes to show. And I'm not gonna hold no punches with this. I think as well, we in the UK tend to favour fighters too much, and because they come from Olympic pedigree and we like to back our own fighters, maybe we're guilty of overhyping them like we do with our footballers, and some of them are not really up to scratch. Now, I'm not saying Joe JOYCE is not up to scratch, but I think because he's been in the amateur system and in the Olympic system for so long, he's on borrowed time now. So what he's done is he's ran the clock up. It's like a car. Where the clock's been ran over, and then the dial back the clock. That's what's happened to Joyce. Now, he's not taken that much punishment in the fights that he's took, but the last 2 fights he's took considerable punishment, to the point where it looks like if Queensberry don't want him and don't want to keep on working with him, and his contract may want to get terminated, he may actually be able to just mutually agree to terminate it and then move on to another promoter. But the thing is at 38, how much more years have you actually got left to actually contend for a heavyweight title? You know, Daniel's got more mileage on the clock than him, and he's younger as well, and he's had the crack at 2 world titles already, and you beat Daniel. So arguably you should have been ahead of Daniel to actually get your crack at a world title, and you didn't. Frank sold you down the river, because obviously he didn't rate you, and he rated Daniel more. But not just that, if you beat Daniel, shouldn't Sam Jones have been flipping harassing Frank Warren to actually getting you that title shot? Now you did get the interim, but you ended up throwing it away, similar to what Dillian White did with Povetkin, and fighting someone that you didn't need to fight, that had no business even being really in the ring with you, but because you needed a dancing partner, an opponent to make it credible, you took him on. So I think some people are guilty of overreaching. That's one of the 48 laws of power. Don't overreach. You overreached. Your career was there. Your path was there. You had your chance to get your revenge on Usyk, and you didn't really take it. You just basically decided, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to beat him. And fair enough, I give you your dues because you took the rematch, but maybe you should have took a bit of time, you know, because the way you got beat the first time, even though you didn't really get knocked out, you got stopped. So that should have told you something. Maybe you needed to actually work on your flaws, which was your defense and your head movement, and getting your tactics right for the fight, for who you're fighting, and actually spar with people. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. So tell me, what do you think of that? And leave your thoughts in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe. And that is another one from Knockout Legends. Peace.